We recording?
We are recording. We can talk about it offline.
I'll talk about it offline. It's all good. It ain't me. It's just some, family stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
it's all good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's all good. I mean, it's all good. So what's up, y'all? How's everybody doing, man? Since the last time we potted, everybody all right?
Can't complain. Ain't nothing changed over here.
What's the updates in the world? Anybody listening to this, I guess we're supposed to have an agenda now. On our second episode. So my name is.
Hold on, real quick, Kev. Kids are a little loud, so I mean you can't tell them quiet. Just we hear them louder than we hear you.
Hold on, I know I'm about to move the elliptical towards the back. It'll be less.
You all?
Well, I mean,
this is why he pods during that time.
Yeah, hold on.
No, that's all good. Well, we'll wait because I guess that way the first few minutes you can just cut out.
No, you go ahead, Tracy. You say what you were saying. You start.
No, I was saying we can all just introduce ourselves. I've been doing a little research and then say today's date, and kind of pick the theme we're going to talk about
starting
today.
off.
Well, I'm Tracy Pugh, Jr. Little background info on me is, I enjoy fitness. I enjoy good food. And I'm living this quarantine life with my fellas.
Like 30, 40 minutes.
All right, I guess you go next, Anthony.
My name is Anthony Hadley Jr. I am an all-around creative, bit of an entrepreneur. Just trying to live, trying to realize my dreams and make them a reality.
Oh, okay.
And, we'll wait for Kev and give him a second.
We'll wait for Kev. The
he
introduction.
Muted himself. That's how you know it's real.
Oh yeah, the introduction, and then maybe we'll talk about some of the current events. So I guess today is Sunday, the 26th. You know what day this is? The quarantine exact day you buy your computer, Anthony?
Yeah, I mean, it started out here on March 19th. I know that off the top of my head. Thursday, March 19th. Not all non-essential businesses in Los Angeles, California were shut down. So you can do math on that.
So March 19th started.
Yeah.
So we still locked up. I think we're hopefully getting closer to reopening. I know that Orange
Kev,
County.
when you're done, state your name and introduce yourself.
Oh yeah, I'll pause.
Can I hear? Hold on. All right.
So you can we wait on you. You can state your name and introduce yourself whenever you're ready. Tell us a little about yourself, the audience, I guess.
Kevin Grant. I am a writer, author, filmmaker, entrepreneur. I don't know how y'all formatted it, but
you said about as much as we did.
Therapy, man. There you go.
Huh?
You said about as much as we did.
Good.
Oh,
Yeah. And this is part of it. As myself as a new potter, and I'm, and I think Anthony has probably the most experience with potting. I don't know, Kevin, did you pot a lot previously, or just new for you too?
Not like on my own, like just whether it was with Anthony or just kind of my brothers.
Okay. Got you.
So
well,
familiar in a sense, but not like my own creation. And I should have just said I'm a multi-hyphenate. That way it's a lot easier.
Well, everybody besides Anthony is pretty. Me and Kevin are new to this podcasting, I would say. So it's just the growing pains. But you know what? I guess.
No, we all knew. I'm just on a crash course right now.
Yeah, but you knew, but you not new like us. You knew. It's like, okay, there's a difference in. Okay,
No. What I'm saying is we all.
You use car new.
Well, no. What I'm saying is we all started at the same time. I've just been on a crash course as of late. We literally all started at the exact same time,
Oh,
the exact same day.
Actually,
so I've just been on a crash course. So that's what I'm saying.
I disagree. I say you
got it. You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
You know what? You got it.
You got more miles. Shoot. But anyway, like I'm not about to make this podcast.
Yeah,
because we're still saying the exact same thing but differently.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, we new to this, man. So, but before, like the research I did last time, I listened to a few other podcasts, and I realized last week I didn't introduce myself. Somebody does listen to it, they not like, who is that? So.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's usually in the byline or whatever you call it. But yeah, I get what you're saying. It's good to
another
introduce
thing
yourself.
was, and then I said a little bit, we're still in quarantine because it's like quarantine episodes. So people know, like, while we're speaking about the things we're speaking about and while we're a little bit more relaxed, you know, because the environment is kind of different right now. What was it? Oh, and then we were trying to come up with a bio. I know we texted about it a little bit. Is Kev still there? All right, we'll come back to that.
Yeah.
Oh,
he literally is. The pictures ain't showing up.
Bio. So okay, so I think, can y'all both explain to me what exactly we want in the bio? Because I think maybe I'm not understanding or doing it right.
What I was saying is
do we want it as individuals or do we want it for the group?
No. This is a bio about the podcast, about the we podding or not. We podding or what podcast? That's literally just
okay.
For when you go to the Instagram, when you go to the YouTube, when you go to the Twitter, quick blurb about the podcast. Now that can include information about us specifically if we want, but just
no, I like that. I like that.
No, I'm saying what I'm about to continue to elaborate is like as we continue like these questions that you're posing now, as we continue to find our voice, our direction, our audience, we can better identify that. But it would be good just to get something up simple right now.
Gotcha. Did we figure something out? I know it's me and Kev's responsibility. So we probably did.
You already know.
By the way, hey, shout out to Anthony though on the sidebar, because the reason that our stuff is getting out there and that we even have materials because Anthony set up the foundation. So shout out to him. Can we do like a hand clap? Maybe when you come back to this.
I hope he had it all this out.
Click. Clap, man,
like, I don't want y'all personal conversation. Talk about some click.
No, little moments like that is
so
says you.
But I wanted to say about
that's funny.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
What I wanted to say about the corona, so updating the coronavirus is obviously, besides the people who are losing their lives, the people getting sick, is Orange County is one of the few counties that I think Orange County and Ventura County, they kept some beaches open. So everybody I guess it was like 30,000 people at the beach this weekend.
Yeah, I was talking with somebody yesterday, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we about to go up to the beach right now."
I mean, I can't blame. I didn't go.
Mayor Garcetti said that, you know, hey, we should. But you know, that was the difference between California and New York. Because I was watching the news on New York, and the counties around. If your next county over has a concert and your county doesn't allow concerts, it don't matter. Still, everybody gonna go to the next county over to go to the concert because ain't nothing else to do. And it's the same thing with the beach. If LA County beach is closed and Orange County beach is open, everybody just gonna go to Orange County. And just for people who are not in California, that's like a 30-minute drive, and probably 20 because there's no traffic on the freeway right now. So.
Sideways. But you know, I think that comes down to people being responsible within themselves. Which I mean, I'm not mad at somebody for feeling the need to go out. Like even like my boy told me, like with them going to the beach, like they had specific parameters to where like, you can't sit still. You have to move around and be separated. Which if you're gonna do it, at least I think that's better. But like I do think it comes down to each person being responsible for themselves, like because you can't make somebody stay home. Just like we can go to the grocery store. I don't think it's like me. I'm not going nowhere. Like if I go to the grocery store, I'm trying to get in there as quick as possible, get out, and I'm gonna stay home. But like I'm an introvert, so it's easy for me to stay in. Like I feel like some people are going crazy, so I get them wanting to go out. I don't think it's the best thing to do. Like for not even for introvert reasons, but for health reasons, I think we all got to do our part. But like I get it. I definitely get it.
What about you, Kev?
I'm kind of the same way. Like I know health reasons why it's not the smartest idea, but also like for some people's sanity, I think they just need to see nature, get out, and I think you could do it in a safe manner. The problem I think is when you get so many people out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you see like
And
30,000 people, then that's crazy.
yeah, like that's
that's what I was just about to say. Like I feel you, but 30,000 people, like that ain't. I'm out right now. I'm on a walk. You know, like Anthony said, I'm gonna go to the grocery store. But I think there's there's some military helicopters flying over me. Maybe they're going to the beach. The ghost car. That's crazy. I'm in Orange County right now for the record, so that's why I said that. Like you in LA thinking that? Nah, I'm in Orange County, so I ain't that crazy. But yeah, dude,
also
I'm
you
with
say
you.
that though,
Like
but like with
30,000
the
is a lot of people.
I think also like in LA County, like the cases we have is so concentrated versus like, you know, Ventura and Orange County and places like that where they have low numbers. And I know they're like saying, okay, this is for locals and everything, but when you got people locked down and they just like, oh, it's open over there, well, I'm gonna just go ahead and drive and get some sun. And it's like, well,
so
everybody's thinking like that.
So let me give you a little bit more. I don't know if you guys knew about it. I read a few articles and I saw it on the news. So this is what they did. They closed the beaches down. I mean, they didn't close the beaches down in Orange County, but they closed the parking structures down. So you couldn't park on PCH and you couldn't park in the beach. So they, in their mind, they're like, well, obviously, if you can't park, it's probably going to just be for the locals because if you can't park your car, you can't get out there. But what they didn't account for is they're not giving parking tickets. So if I can't park, okay, even if they have certain areas blocked off, I'm gonna go park in a community that maybe I can't normally park in, but they're not giving tickets. So if 30 people can show up at a beach, there's clearly somewhere they can park. So this was not thought out well, and I think we're gonna see. Honestly, this is gonna be a great test to see how things really are and how bad they are because. I mean, because 30,000 could really turn into 60, 100,000 quick within 15 days. So we gonna see.
Oh yeah.
Like Drake said, we gonna see.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Definitely. I mean, you would have to imagine and expect, which I'm sure even these people, some of them have thought about the risk, but like you have to understand, if 30,000 people go, like there's gonna be a spike. Like, not saying that it's okay, but yeah, I mean, I think people. Go ahead.
No, like you're saying, there's definitely going to be a spike, but I think the major issue that comes into play is, so just from us growing up as humans, right? And as long as we've been alive and we've known, like the terror has always been something visible. Like we've never really had anything that bad invisible, not including like an earthquake or something like that, but because it's a virus and it's like, it's there, it's killing people, it's doing these things, but it's not like you could, flash the light on it and say, I see you, you know what I mean? So I think
let's go ahead. I got something to add to that when you go.
But yeah, just saying, like, so mentally, even though people, they're probably leveraging the risk that they have, they're just saying, oh well, it's this and the other, until it's personal, like they know somebody personally that they can be affected by it, or they're able to see it in a way that's just not this abstract virus. Like we all know, it's a virus, it's there, right? Subatomic levels, whatever it is, under a microscope. But just that idea that we're used to villains being visible. And so when you take that, I think people are kind of like just in their choices indirectly are just kind of like, yeah, it's bad, but it's not that bad. You know what I mean? It's bad, it's not that bad. Like I fill in the blank. And so it's like that's how you get 30,000 people at the beach.
And what I was gonna say is like obviously
Okay.
you have a point where it's not visible, but like look at it like this. Like look at how many people have unprotected sex, knowing that they can get an STD or HIV or AIDS. So it's one of those things where, I mean, not saying that it's okay at all, but if people will do that, and this is something that is so new and they can't even come to terms with, and you really, like, at least you know, like, okay, I have to have unprotected sex, I have to exchange, you know, blood or certain things, be pricked by a needle to contract this. And there are other things, and I'm being very crude with it. But there are only certain ways where you can contract something like that. Well, no, wait. I'm speaking to like HIV. I'm speaking HIV. So if people will be, if there are such a large number of people that will be so careless with something that they know they can only catch in certain ways and still will be careless in those ways in which they can possibly catch it, then human nature would say that there are going to be a lot of people that will go out there and risk it. Not saying it's okay. I'm not saying people should do it, but it's not something that surprises me, is what I'd say.
Right. I could agree with that. Because it's, I mean,
I want
it's
to
almost
jump in on that too. So
yeah, go ahead. If you're talking,
no, go ahead, Kev. Because I'm gonna take it somewhere else with it though. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah. No, I was just agreeing with what Anthony said. Just it's kind of the same concept because it's like there's this danger here, but it really doesn't stop people until they're affected by it either directly or indirectly in a way like they see the results of those choices. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I agree with both of you guys actually. I think I also agree. I think enough people haven't died yet, and I believe on the second wave, that's when people are gonna be freaking out because we are gonna get a second wave. And I also believe it's funny you brought that HIV thing up because I feel the same way. And my neighbor, who is a gay male for the record, he brought to my attention, like, hey man, yeah, when AIDS first came, people wouldn't talk like thought you were a gay man or they thought you were in the drugs, they wouldn't talk to you. There was social distancing. There was like you couldn't I mean, just look at how we treated Magic Johnson. Like if you was an athlete, I don't even know how. I'm sure if you was in the medical field and you were gay at that time because people didn't understand the virus. They didn't know how people were getting it. They didn't know it was sexually transmitted at that time. They just knew like it was this virus coming out and it was killing people.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then he explained something else to me. It took a real long time for people to get over the fears of it. The fear lasts way longer.
Am I here?
Tracy, yeah, Tracy, check your signal where you're at because you're breaking really badly.
The fear lasted for days.
No, it'll take a second for me to hear us. Look at
your
phone. What's your signal looking like right now?
I got full bars, but I'm moving. I'll stay put in a minute. Can you hear me now?
Okay. Yeah. No, you're good right now.
What was the last thing y'all heard?
The stigma. Last thing I heard.
So yeah, the stigma of contracting AIDS or HIV. How long that lasted and the fear of people. It lasted decades for people to feel comfortable being around lesbians and heterosexual. I mean, not heterosexual. Gay men and all. It took a while, and people are just now comfortable being around those type of people because they didn't know how the virus was getting here. It had nothing to do with those people. They didn't want to get sick. And I think for us, we don't understand this virus enough. And the stigma, we don't know how long the stigma is going to last. The stigma could last longer than the virus. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we don't know because the virus might last the rest of 2020. But the stigma might last 4 or 5, 6. 10 years. We just don't know
I
yet.
mean, the truth is
So
the virus will
that's a good
probably
point. You brought
be
that up.
with us.
Oh yeah, I mean
For the
it's
foreseeable
called a
future.
novel virus for reasons. It's new,
Yeah.
like they, So I think because everybody's still learning so much about it, and so there's all these theories and all these anecdotes to what it can do and what it can't do. Everybody's just going off like their personal experience, but it's like, okay, we don't have a full grasp of even what it is yet to even know, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
one point I know in the beginning, it was like, oh, well, elderly and underlying diseases with comorbidities. And then that changed into, I think I read an article that was saying like younger people were having strokes as a result of it. So I think it's just like continuously growing and learning about it because it's just new. Which is why it's important, I think, to take the precautions that were in place because, you don't really know what you're dealing with. But, it's kind of like immediate satisfaction. It's like, well, nobody's really seeing anything, right? One way or the other. It's like, okay, we have this number of people dying, but we have all these people that are getting it and living. So it's like, well, it's not really that bad. That's really what it comes down to. The math.
And I think the other thing that I would add to that, when we live in a society in a time where everything is politicized and there's opposing spins being put on whatever information that is out there that may or may not be vetted, that makes it even more difficult because there are facts there, but then trying to dig through the facts because there are going to be people that have their agenda, which will put one spin on it, and then there are people that have an opposing agenda that's going to put their spin on it. So trying to delve through all of that to find the actual facts, it makes it a lot more difficult. That's anything in life, but especially something that's so important right now.
Definitely.
Yeah, I agree with that. And like you said, I mean, we're in a time where, and however you put it, and and people, obviously, we're still in the middle of this corona pandemic. The conversations usually is about coronavirus. It's either one, how's it going to affect your physical health or mental health? How's it going to affect you financially? How's it going to affect the future? There's so many different routes you can go with it. But I think everyone kind of agrees that the world is definitely going to change from it. And, you just hope it changes for the better at the end of the day. So
I think part of that is like, deciding, like as much as any one human being does in small groups do, like I think there's not a better time to influence change than now. Like, I mean, the world as a whole is going to change, but like we can make the changes we want to see in our personal lives right now. Like we've been talking about, this is the perfect time to change your habits, improve yourself, work on the things like, being, whether it's stocking your kitchen more, learning how to cook more, or doing things that will help you to be better prepared for something like this or something totally different that could catch us off guard later, or just being a better human being and learning to be there and be more supportive for people in your community or in your family. So in certain ways, I mean, regardless, it's going to change. It's going to change the world. The world has already changed, but we can make changes too.
Life has changed.
Yeah. And I think, even this podcast, I mean, honestly, this is one I think, to me in my life, and I'm hoping anyone who takes the time to listen to it, that the change is positive, because we probably wouldn't have, we got 2 episodes, and I'm predicting we're going to do more than this. We wouldn't have got this momentum going with this if it wasn't for the change, So we had to sit down, figure a few things out. And but I mean, so yeah, like you said, there is there could be a lot of beauty from this. It don't all have to be doom and gloom. That's what I've learned. Even when my mentality was like, it's so easy to go to doom and gloom, and it's like, well, dang, the medical system might be a lot better now. You know what I'm saying? Like the police departments might be better now. The grocery stores might be better now. The economy might be. We think maybe it's going to be worse, but shoot, it could be stronger now. We just don't know. So there's no and being optimism and trying to have a positive mindset, that's not going to hurt anything. So I don't know. I know we don't. But I did want to cover a little bit about the corona just because it is so relevant. But I know we can't talk about some other stuff. I know everybody don't want to talk about that all day.
Hey,
But
we
That's
go
the
where we go.
reality of where we at. Yeah, it's the reality we are living right now. So,
So yeah. So
but
what's next?
you know, I do have I got
Go ahead.
another. Well, anybody else? Anything else
No,
I
no, go
want to
ahead.
talk
no,
about?
no, add on.
Another thing I wanted to kind of talk about is just what do you think? And this is kind of, I guess it is kind of corona related. What do you think this is doing for the? And Kev, I would love to hear your input on this because you have kids.
Mhm.
What do you think this is doing for children, like kids? I'm what do you? How do you think this is affecting kids in the educational sense, and socially, and emotionally?
So okay, let me break the question down.
Break it down, pops.
Okay, so on one side of the coin, we can talk family, emotional. If you're in a situation where you have a strong family, I think kids are gonna look fondly on this time. Like when they're older and they look back and they think about how much time they got to spend with their parents and their siblings and whomever they're like locked down with, and the attention that they're getting. Like you think about normally, right? If you go to a standard
Yeah,
work day, kids in school, everything like that, everybody's kind of in their own world, and they may converge for an hour or two a day, even if you're trying, right? Like just uninterrupted time together. But you take that out of the equation and you spending all your time together. And for a kid, right, it's like probably the best thing ever because it's like when you're coming up into a certain age, like your parents are your heroes. Like when you're a little child and you depend on them for everything, right? So in that regard, I think emotionally, it's making people a lot more vested in their kids and vice versa. So as long as you're not like spending that time still doing what you would have done before. Um, but speaking to my own experience, I know we just spent so much time together that it's making them stronger and emotionally just, I think I'm seeing changes that for the positive that may have not been there. Education wise, I think that also depends on the parent. I do feel like kids learning together helps a lot, but homeschool has always been a thing. You've always had bright, intelligent kids coming from homeschool. And so I don't think that that's an excuse one way or the other to say like kids will be dumber or not. It still comes on like the household, and probably everything I'm saying is relative to that situation,
just
but that's just because
yeah,
I don't want to do like
yeah, your
broad
situation.
stroke generalizations. But overall, I think it's a lot of good emotionally kids point. Now you flip that and you got situations where people probably not used to being with their kids or their spouses or whatever else, right? And then you're spending all this time together. So it may not be looking as wonderful as you would think, but you're also learning who you really are. Because I think you can easily grow apart from anyone when life is normal, right? Like when the economy is up and running, we're all working, we're all busy doing things. You could easily grow apart from somebody and not know it. And so all this time is doing is like really like getting you not only caught up, but kind of being able to grow together, if that makes sense. Because you don't have the distraction. Same thing like Anthony mentioned before, like you have time to do things that normally you might not if you really want to do it. So I think that goes for relationships too. Like if you want to be a better parent, a better sibling, a better family person, whatever, you definitely have an opportunity to do that now if you're not so distracted with the doom and gloom of everything going around you. Did I
Okay.
touch everything? I think
Yeah. You
everything.
know, I think what I want to hear a little bit more, you know, if you don't mind me asking more about the questions, I want to know, like, do you believe, like, and I know you touched on it, but I guess more from like the educational standpoint of, you know, you're teaching your kids, you're helping your kids more with their homework, You know, I don't know. I mean, your kids are young, but I'm just saying, hypothetically, if they were
Yeah.
like in elementary school or junior high, and now instead of them going away for 8 hours, they have the option. So maybe they may have the option of, you know, like these companies, like, oh, I don't feel like going to school today. I'm gonna log in on my laptop for 8 hours. You saying? Do you feel like
See,
if that's the
but
option, because it's not yet. I'm sorry. If that's the
right.
option, do you think that kids would benefit from that? And we're speaking about things that haven't happened yet, obviously, but just wanted to know
I
your
think
input.
I think it's indicative of also like the environment. So you could sit at a computer for 8 hours, but I guarantee you're not doing 8 hours of work. So if you can find a way to be more efficient and more present in what you're doing. So like say these kids, they sit in class, like again, I was in school before, I know what school's like. I was daydreaming half the time. That didn't stop me from being able to do what I had to do. You know what I'm saying? So I think the same
Yeah.
goes for an older kid. Like if you can get focused attention, I think that's more beneficial than just a general passing core test. Now I don't know how that translates. Like if nobody's looking after you, so you're not really doing any schoolwork. You know what I mean? Like if you have a structured environment,
Yeah.
it's gonna look differently than if it's like, hey, did you do anything today? Like if your parents are just saying, did you do anything today? And it's a yes or no. And it's like, oh yeah, I looked at this and that. Unless you're like that self-driven as a child, which means you probably were left to your own devices early on. You had to be independent. It's the only way that's gonna, work. You're right. You know, adults that if nobody's standing over them, they can't do their job function. So I don't know if I answered the question, but that's my
You
take
did,
on
and I'm gonna jump. Anthony, unless you want to jump in, I'm gonna jump in real quick and just put my little 2 cents.
it. And
No, I mean, like, I'm gonna let you go first.
Well, so my opinion, this is clearly opinion on this subject. Is I grew up in the suburbs. Obviously, that's another fun fact people can learn about me on this cast. Is I grew up in the suburbs. It was a pretty small city. It was called, and school was like, it was something, and I was an athlete for the most part of my life. It was something that people use, and for athletes and people who want to go to the Ivy League schools, it was something. It was like an edge because if I can do homeschool on my own terms, now I can train during the day. I can go to the gym. I can get special training, and I can do my work at my own leisure. Whether that's me doing it quicker or me slowing it down, that's based on the student. But I'm saying it gave that person an advantage. Now to the person who really excelled in classes, it gave them an advantage because now they can move faster along. You know, now they can finish their workload in half the time and potentially move up to another grade, potentially maybe take some college courses, potentially learn more. So I think you're right, Kevin. It's really going to depend on the parents, not just them and their resources. Because if I'm able to have, if I'm able to have my kid on homeschool, and he's able to have a tutor or a teacher come home and help
yeah,
him, like you said, he's getting that one-on-one all day, and he's able to excel past what they're doing on at his public school or private school because you know the standards going clearly the standards going to be pretty at the standard's not going to be as super difficult if you're going to a public school because they have to do a curriculum for a whole mass of kids. So now it's
right.
like it's kind of going to be custom to the kid, you know. And I think it's going to be real interesting because now they're talking about getting rid of letter grades. They're talking about doing pass and fail. So now it's like, okay, well, is GPA going to matter? Is it going to be just pass or fail? Or are they going to have to come up with a
So
more of like
Tracy,
interest levels exams? Yeah.
Tracy, I want to jump in just because something you said I
Oh yeah,
probably
yeah,
glossed
yeah.
over. I didn't even attach. That's super important that you mentioned is the economics of the situation. And I'm glad you brought that up because I definitely just kind of breezed through that. But I think that also plays a large factor in, you know, it's like everything, unfortunately, but it's just reflective of the society at large and where we are, because the economics of it is so important to the system. Just like you said, if you can afford a tutor, or you can just afford time, right? Because if you're in a situation where now your time has been diminished, but then also your finances are diminished, and you're scrambling, you're really not going to be able to focus that attention on the children, the kids, or whomever, right? Because then it's back to that hand to mouth existence of like, I'm scrambling, trying to get by. So you take that, you put it in a situation where you have children that's trying to learn, and so on and so forth. It could easily go by the wayside, because if you have your parents or parent, because there's a lot of single parents out there that has to be distracted because they're focused on, not losing the house, or where meals coming from and everything else, then it's going to be really hard for them to juggle that, and juggle like the persistence of making sure like that child is learning at a level to make them, competitive in the future workspace, whatever that looks like. And that also speaks to, the system of how we put out certain level people, like, right, we all numbers at some point. It's like, okay, the economy is this beast, and then you have people that have to fill the economy on varying levels, varying degrees of that, right, from CEO to temp worker. And I know I kind of went off a little bit, but my whole idea is like, we can't overplay the economics of situations, because that's basically like that the existence of what everybody's whining about the economy. Like aside from people going to the beach to get fresh air, the people that believe like, oh, the economy, we need the economy, or life's over, blah 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 blah, right? All that is still like the same system that continues. And even when it's revved up, if you have all these low wage workers and they still trying to do the same thing, you still don't have those gaps in the education. Because whether their kids are going to school, but they're going to a lower level school, or a school that don't have resources to get the right books or the right curriculum, or even just give kids options, right?
Yeah. Can I jump in on that real quick?
Go ahead.
Yeah, because like you're right. Okay, so like say I live in Beverly Hills and then another kid lives in Compton. Okay, I might have the resources to have a tutor, or like you said, a teacher there, and that's maybe acting as similar to like a I'm not gonna say a babysitter, but a mentor, someone who's making sure that they are completing the work. The same thing a teacher does. And if you had another, if I'm in Compton and you like, hey, you need to go on this laptop, I was already struggling just going to school just to make attendance. And now you telling me I'm at home all day, nobody home, because both my parents got to go to work, because like you said, I mean, our bills and stuff coming in, and they don't have jobs where they can work from home. So now you taking a kid who might have had a chance because a physical teacher was able to see like, hey, this kid is struggling, or hey, this kid may have home issues. You're taking the physical aspect away of that situation. So now this kid is just like you said, they're gonna be a number. They're gonna be like, well, number 144 didn't log in today.
So let me ask you to this, since and I'm just asking just out of pure like personal requirement. We have identified that is an issue or a potential issue. Or do you guys have any ideas of potential solutions or fixes or something like that?
Oh, I mean, I got a solution, which okay. So first, let me say this: it's gonna be trial and error, obviously, because this is all new stuff. But I think it's gonna be something like this: like some schools are gonna have to be open, so people can come in, because like you said, internet access, they may not have a computer. There's going to be so many different issues for the middle class and lower class communities, because of resources, that they're going to have centers open so people can go in and get their stuff done.
Well, what if that isn't an option? And I'm just asking. I'm just
we're still
literally
talking
playing
about
devil's
potential
advocate.
stuff, obviously.
Yeah, I know.
If that's not an option,
no. Well, yeah, because I didn't I didn't chime in because like it's definitely something I hadn't thought about, so I had nothing to really contribute. But the one thing that I was thinking and that I had been thinking already is like I think we will see that plays into what you're saying. We will see a lot of technological advances just across the board with like the internet and communication and all that, which will play into education, which will then play into your problem. So I asked like, okay, so let's say we're in a scenario where the second wave of this comes back and then schools aren't open, there has to be another fix. So on the other end, is there something to where, well, of course, the barrier to entry for tablets is becoming lower, and then, so well, I guess I'm asking, is there another solution to where we make everything more accessible for those that don't have it?
I think so. It's a tough problem because obviously everybody's different, right? Mm-hmm. So you do have people that are, on the wrong side of advantage, right? And with the right aid would take and turn that into something. But then you also have the people that are kind of stuck in their ways and don't want to change. Absolutely. And
or just,
so
and,
I think
it's not, sometimes, and just to speak to your point, it's not always that. Some people just don't know a better way. It may not even be stuck in their way, they just don't know a better way. But go ahead.
Right. So I think you have to address that as well. And so the issue comes down to, okay, really, like, we see how poverty affects everything, like health, job outlook, and yeah, there's always outliers. I mean, everybody doesn't grow up with money or with super opportunity, and there's outliers who come from that, right? But I say that because I think it all still comes down to that economic ability to be in the playing field. You know what I mean? And Andrew Yang, he's not the first to talk about, but like a universal income, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the ways. It looks like just unwarranted aid, but even if you look at like the stimulus thing for Corona, because the economy is closed, if you can give people an opportunity to not just struggle, like where their whole existence is trying to get out of a struggle, but just a boost, and that's not like handing out something for nothing, which I should make a point though, because we say about this whole free market, right? And we say about capitalism, but everybody's getting bailed out. So you would think, why don't you bail out your citizens who are impoverished and are looking for a way to level up, which would also, right, give them a vested interest not only in the economy, building up, right, and not just subsisting on assistance from the government. So if you free up some of that time, space, and energy that's dedicated to just getting by, I think you have a more productive citizen, a happier citizen, and then also that's like contributing to the country as a whole, right, of being happier and less crime. And of course, it's theoretical, but if everybody's struggling,
everything you're talking about right now is theoretical. Well, I mean, not everything, but like all the solutions.
But yeah, even ones that they're doing now.
And I'm gonna jump in when you're done, Kev.
Even solutions that they have with the bailouts and everything else, it's all theoretical because it's somebody in like a war room or somewhere just trying to strategize like, oh, this could go this way, this could go that way. And you don't really know till you try it. And so that's why I'm like, well, universal income don't sound that bad. And the fact that you bailing out billion-dollar companies means that in a way you're supporting it, but instead of supporting it for taxpayers and supporting it through like your working class and people on that level, you're just doing it for the corporations who capitalizing off those people within that struggle. You know what I mean? So for me, I think.
All right, let me jump in this.
Go ahead.
Okay, so can you hear me?
He hit me with the okay. Yeah.
All right. So and what you're saying, Kev? Okay, so I got a few issues. The first issue is one. It has been proven, and it's been proven on platforms maybe, as a minority we don't want to acknowledge, but welfare. It's been proven when you give people money and you take their ability away to be
You
take their
you went
they
out.
fall into
Go
this
ahead.
category.
You got to start because I didn't hear.
You
All I
say you
heard
take
was
their ability away to be, and then you cut out.
You take their ability away from being independent to being dependent. And once someone is dependent, aka counting on a stimulus check, counting on I'm counting on the freaking resources from the government, counting on all those resources that the government assisted living, what's that stuff called? Welfare, all those
subsidy.
type of things. Then you take that stuff, yeah, all that stuff. We're talking, if this was like, hey, we're gonna put you in this category because, like you said, instead of you having to worry about how you're gonna pay your bills, pay your mortgage, we're gonna give you an allowance every month. AKA, like some of the issues. Usually people aren't more creative, they're not trying to be innovative, they're not pushing themselves to be better, and they fall in this category of want to be taken care of, and there's no room for growth. And you look at and that's capitalism, and once you start doing stuff like that, once you have the government giving you money, once you have the government putting their hands on these businesses, that becomes scary. Now you look at
Tracy, let me stop you real quick. Tracy, hold on, because
I just want to say this. Just one part. Okay, go and then out.
Well, no, my only thing is like when I started out, like, and I'm not disagreeing with where you took it, Kev. But when I started out raising the question, and I didn't give a solution, but I wasn't thinking about the solution of just giving people money. I was talking about, you said there would be an inequality of resources. So I'm talking about more speaking to leveling the resources. So you were saying if somebody says,
that's what I'm saying.
They're going to have, well, no. So just to speak to Tracy, because Tracy's talking about welfare, and this could be a form of welfare. But and that's why I said, are there any solutions? And if your solution is totally different, I still want to hear it, Tracy, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be something totally different. But if the issue that we spoke to originally in your thing that you suggested was that the economic inequality left, is he still here? Can you hear us, Tracy?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah, I
just can't see you. So no, your video disappeared. But if the problem is because of inequality in economic resources, the kids don't have access to internet, they don't have access to the tablets, and they may not have access to whatever technology is there. Is there some fix that can level that playing field to where it's not we're not just giving you money, but we are giving you the resources? Like, and I'm just saying right now because what we're talking about is internet and tablets or whatever the education of the life.
You were speaking
some
to
solution there.
Right.
And I want to hear Tracy's thought on that, but I don't want to. Whoever want to go.
Which Tracy, you could go
ahead,
answer to that. No, because I was saying, well, Anthony's speaking to short term, but then I'm looking at long term because while short term, it is important. Like, the kids have something to keep them occupied during that time.
Oh no, and I'm saying if wherever the future goes, and that's what I'm saying, like technology.
Okay, well, yeah, I'm speaking to the larger problems at hand. And so when I say, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead, Kev.
When I say just like that universal income, I'm not saying it's predicated on like you get it specifically just for being. Like there's obviously like a certain threshold and controls in place to make that available to you. But all that to say, when 2008 happened, the recession happened, all these banks and everybody got bailed out. That's not capitalism. And you can tell me to you blue in the face as an economic major or anybody. So, and I know what you're saying, like on a personal level from, people on welfare.
But honestly, it is capitalism, because when anytime you're getting bailed out by the government, it's falling under capitalism. Now people don't talk about it, but in the reality,
but I'm saying, like,
the government
the definition of
it'd be like this. It'd be like this because the definition, that'd be like this. Okay, I can't pay my house mortgage, so what happened? The government gonna come in, they gonna pay my house mortgage, but they gonna tell me where to go to work. They gonna tell me what my kids can do, because they gonna have their inputs on what can and what can't happen at that point. The more assistance the government plays, the more requirements they're gonna have. Like anything, if you try to get a loan from the government versus getting a loan,
it's not a free market.
Yeah,
they can paint it as a free market,
and that's what we don't want.
But that's what
But
I'm
that's what
saying.
we
So
don't want.
when you have people protesting that capitalism is the way to go, it's not true capitalism is all I'm saying. So you can't be a true capitalist when, for instance, now, right? The economy is closed, it's tanking and everything else, but you have all of these businesses and corporations looking for a bailout because they can't make business because the business is closed, right? They're looking for help. If you have people that are struggling, not because they're just accepting government assistance, but because they don't have the resources to pay back their loans in time, to get a better job, to go back to school, to level up, because they're too busy trying to get another job to pay off the debt. So then they can't even begin to become better because they're spending all their time paying off debt. So by the time they do pay off that debt, they're starting at zero and they're 40, and then now they're just starting to get a chance. Where's that bill? Like, that person may be way better invested in becoming whatever, a doctor, a scientist, whatever. Don't matter what they're becoming. But if you're paying all this money in school loans, you went to get education, and then you got to take all these different jobs just to pay off that debt before you can even try to start another career. That's when I'm like, okay, well, that's not helping the situation. That's just broadening the gap. So you have all these educated poor people, and so where's the bailout for them? Because that's just becoming a cog in the system.
And that's a bigger issue. And I'm a huge advocate on how I believe college is definitely not. It doesn't have the same value that it used to do. I mean, I talk all the time about how I believe every major should have a price tag on it. You know, and these colleges should back them. They should be like, hey, if you graduate from here, from UCLA or USC or Pepperdine or whatever, and you get a degree in math, I'm gonna guarantee you gonna get a job at least making 80 to 100 grand, or you gonna get it. Because if I'm paying you all this money, where's the return on my investment? Where else do you not, when you spend 300,000-400,000, you don't get a returning investment? So I agree with you there. But what I'm trying to say is I don't agree with, because and this is the issue. No one's telling these kids to go to UCLA. No one's telling these kids to go study ceramics and go study history. You know what I'm saying? So that's where it becomes tricky, because if the government goes, hey, we're going to pay for your education, then the government's going to tell you what you can study. So now a kid that may not be that smart, may not be that bright, might not come from a social infrastructure where maybe they could be a doctor or they can be a scientist. Now they got to go be a carpenter. You know, and because we pay for your house, we pay for this, we need you to get back to, and that's the issue that I have with, you know, with getting too much assistance from
Does that
government. And like I
happen?
said,
Is that guaranteed to happen? And I'm not
it's a
saying that it won't
slippery
happen, but is that guaranteed to happen all the
slope.
time?
I mean, that's what socialism is. I mean, definition. You know, that's what happens when
No, but I
government
mean,
puts their hand too much in something.
no, I think
It's just,
Anthony's just
think about it like this. Think
No.
about it
So
like
what
this,
I'm saying, there are some countries and some economies that work more closely to that, where the educational system is taken care of, like the collegiate level is taken care of. I'm saying, is it true that every person is forced to work a certain job in these countries that actually have their economical system and educational system set up like that? Because it sounds like, I mean, that could
well,
happen. And
they tell you what to do. So I mean, maybe, you know, it could be like, hey, if you want to live in this neighborhood, you need to follow. And now when you don't follow their rules,
well, no,
they
because
kick you out. It's the
what I'm
same
saying,
thing if
I
you don't
want
pay your
to
mortgage.
clarify the difference between what they could do and what is happening right now. That's all.
Okay, so example, they tell people in China how many kids they have and what type of kids they can have, how many boys they can have, how many girls they can have.
China's
So that
Is
gives you an
communist. China's
example.
communist. They're not socialist.
But okay, but I'm saying, well, that's what we move towards
So
when
that's
we
what I'm saying.
continue,
Like when we're
when the
talking, like
government,
there's a
yeah,
difference. What I'm saying, like I want to
no, the
clarify the
more
difference
assistance
between.
you get,
Absolutely, I agree. In certain. Go ahead. I don't want to cut you off.
no, but I'm saying that's what it turns into. Like the more government steps in, the more they're like, hey, like we're gonna continue. The more they're like, hey, we're gonna help. Hey, we're gonna step in. that's what it evolves to. I mean, that's what it becomes. That's what
You
we
pay
fight
taxes,
against.
right?
That's what we stand on. Of course.
Tracy, you pay taxes, right? If
Yeah.
you don't pay
Yes,
taxes,
sir.
what happens?
You go. I mean, you go to jail potentially. Yeah.
So, I mean, the government's still stepping in, right? Like you gonna pay them, and the refund you get is not what you paying them. You might get a portion of it.
And I say this to say I don't agree with. I don't believe our system is perfect, but I definitely don't want to go. I don't want to go backwards either. That's what I'm saying. There's definitely a lot of issues with our structure, and I agree with that.
My bigger thing
but
is like,
I don't want my kid. Oh, go ahead, Anthony.
Well, no. These have been subjects that you guys have been more apt to speak about because they are outside of just like the economy. They're affecting you more so as a business owner and as a parent. But I'm just saying, as a whole, I want to clarify when we're speaking on what is theoretical, what is factual, and what's opinion. Because, like I said, if there's a difference between a socialist system and a communist system, and a lot of what you said about China is accurate, but also there's a difference between saying what could happen and what would happen and what is happening and what has happened. So I just want to make sure when we speak, we are clarifying our stance because we have to be accountable, just like if we were, not that we're journalists, but like if we're going to talk,
like you're on a pundit, you talking, Exactly.
Yeah. So that's all. It don't matter what we're talking about. We can be talking about toenails. Let's clarify, our stance and where we are on all that. But yeah, you bring up good points on what could happen, and I'm not disagreeing with any of that. But I also like me as a person, just in general, like I hate getting stuck on, and I'm not saying anybody's doing it on harping on problems. So that's why when we start talking about something too much, I start, okay, is there a solution?
Right.
And that's I know, and it has nothing to do with right now. But I'm saying you're going to hear me do that at times because I want to make sure that we don't just talk. We always want to identify problems where they are, but let's identify problems and we're, as three people, we're not going to find a solution to most things. Definitely not everything, but let's definitely offer our thoughts.
But it's better to offer a solution than just pointing out what's so wrong.
Well, no, we have to identify problems, but let's also.
No, I'm just saying if you just pointing out a problem and never offering a solution, then that ends the whole discussion because it just becomes a complaint.
Yeah, and most people can't even see the problem. That's a whole nother thing. I mean, if you can't even see the problem, then definitely you can't even think about a solution. So, I mean, most people don't even believe that there is a problem. Most people don't even believe the coronavirus is real. Most people don't believe it. I mean, so we're speaking to such a small group of people that I agree with you, though, Anthony. We don't want to just start mouthing off stuff that ain't backed up. So I definitely will be careful on that.
You already know I'm a super researcher, so
60 minutes in, what we going to next? Because I got 30 and I got to get settled in for the last day.
Oh, I mean that's a good. Is there a way we can have comment with people? Because that's a good ending note because it speaks to.
Hold on. Tracy was talking to us. So. Oh, never mind.
They said he needs a charger. I was gonna say that's a good ending point just to lead off into the next one because I just think it touches base on just a lot of stuff we talked about. Because what we talked about is going to have a lot of different views on what people think. Because just like what Tracy's saying, there's a lot of people who think it's all handouts, and there's a lot of people who don't. You know what I mean? So, and if we
I agree. Y'all want to end it there? First, before you say anything,
I think that's cool. No, I think we hit some good points. I definitely my phone about to die too. So.